What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. This week, I had probably one of the biggest mental shifts I've had in a long time in my adult life. This is going to have to be a multi-part episode because of how vast and deep this goes. And I was exhausted just beginning talking about this and beginning to go down the ripple unfolding of the implications that come from this mental shift. In the interest of my mental state at this exact moment, and in many ways, an interest of how far I've actually gotten into even fully integrating this shift and reconciling it with every other aspect of me, since it just happened this week, and how much work there is still left to do, that I will keep this episode short and just speak to the actual shift itself. And I plan to get into the effects and what it means to me in future episodes so I can process this in manageable chunks. And that's important because I didn't even want to record this episode because of how vast this topic becomes from how and what this shift spills into, and how it's overwhelming to even begin speaking about and put into words, because it's such on a felt level that to begin to try to articulate it and to really understand now how different of a place I'm in, it's very hard to put into words. And this might be more personal than other episodes, so I ask you to see yourself in me and connect to how we may share some similar experience. Either way, this is a pivotal experience and a moment in my life that warrants documentation. So when this happened, everything that I have been around and seen, am in and see, completely pivoted around me to occupy an entirely new space. Something that in itself isn't new, but now took up domain in an entirely new place in my life. A place that I think I have reluctantly, avoidantly kept vacant, which in turn has delayed the becoming of me in many ways, delayed the maturation of me. And in this shift, immediately as it happened, much of it entirely in my mind and independent of any outside state or circumstance, nothing actually changed except in my mind. Immediately as it happened, now occupying the place I priorly avoided filling with much committed avoidance, now was filled with this new acceptance of reality. And to be clear, the reality in itself is not exactly new, but the place reality now occupied in my acceptance of it through this mental shift that happened is what caused the entire shift. The new place that reality now occupies caused this shift. And I now accepted a role to play in the reality unfolding in front of me that I had before not seen, or even though it was right in front of me, not accepted. And again, possibly because of my unwillingness to accept anything occupying that space in my life in the past, this space that I've avoided and reluctantly and always kept vacant and reluctantly let anything into. Because of my unwillingness to occupy that space and my pattern of that in my past, I've never even considered that this reality that is now trying to occupy that space and the shift now that I see, I never even considered that it may require a different role for me to play. One that was actually being guarded by my unwillingness, gated by my avoidance, and held back in an attempt to keep the stakes in life low enough to a manageable level. And we'll talk about that on future parts of this. But once this mental shift happened, once I accepted and realized that the stakes were raised, and actually had been the entire time, and I couldn't see due to far-sighted blindness, I failed to see what was right under my nose. Once I saw it and accepted the role I am actually meant to play, if I do accept and stop avoiding, once I accepted or had this mental shift present it to me where acceptance seemed the only option, I immediately changed in my body composition. I felt different immediately. It was almost like I grew the fuck up in a matter of a second. Everything I had ever felt distant from, kept at bay, thought was for a future me in some hypothetical land, all of it became real and rushed to meet me in my present reality. And it was there the whole time. And I was asking for it. I just didn't see it because of my own unwillingness. And I'm very grateful for this shift, regardless of its delay of arrival in my life. Even though I do have a slight remorse in the possible time wasted in not seeing what I needed to see faster, I still balance that with reminding myself that it happened in due time. They say hell is truth seen too late. And avoidance only digs the pit deeper and deeper until you are left with no possible road for redemption. So even in the hell that may come from the delay of truth, there is greater hell in further delay. So there is still a glimmer of grace in its arrival that instead could have been a further descent into hell. So thank you for the truth that shows up. Better late than never. So the truth that is seen in hell, even in its late arrival, is the arm of God reaching to save you. And no matter the burn of remorse that comes with the coulda, woulda, shouldas, and if I just knew this before, I wish I knew this before, so I would have never done this if I knew all these truths and this remorse that they reveal. No matter that hellish truth almost burning through the entire image of what you have of yourself, what is to be appreciated still is that you are at least saved from further delay. A truth seen even later. A hell even heller. Yeah, I just made that up. Heller. Ultimately, no matter the force with which it comes and the wreckage it trails, the renewal potential and ultimately the role a mental shift plays is to be celebrated and invited. And once you're on the other side, everything seems so obvious and clear that it's almost funny that you didn't see it before. Like, you mean everything I've been looking for was actually here the entire time? Right under my nose? So why didn't I see it? And what didn't I see exactly? And how did this shift, this truth, spill over into every other aspect of my life? That's for the next couple episodes. I love you, family. See you in the next show.